Welcome to week 12. I will have your profile stories all graded by the end of this week. Most of yours are done already, so you could, by the time you're watching this video, take a look. I probably have graded it already and given you feedback. If not, it is coming in the next couple days. I just want to also tell you, great job for the ones that I've seen. I haven't gone through them all yet, as you know, but great job for the ones that I've seen so far. They used lessons that we've been learning from the chapter. I saw being applied. I saw a lot of the same techniques that were used in that Washington Post article that I had you read as an example. I saw that being modeled in there. So I can tell you're making connections and you are applying it, and it's sticking. And that's what I care about, right? It's that it's actually sticking and that you are now learning how to actually use it yourselves. So you're doing a really good job with that. Take a look at the feedback that I give you, because you're gonna need to do it to use it for your final assignment, which I'll be going over today. But a lot of that feedback, I have a feeling most of you are going to be choosing a profile story to do for your final assignment. So a lot of you did really well, and there was maybe just a few minor things that I gave you feedback on. Make sure that that's what you're also working on for your final assignment. All right, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So let's talk about week 12 here. Something a little different this week. We're going to be concentrating on photojournalism. So there's no quiz attached to this week. There will be an exercise, but you're going to be learning a little bit about photojournalism, why it's so important to journalism, and then also you're going to be reflecting on it, and we have a little exercise for you to do with that. You're finishing your op-ed, as you know, so that's getting submitted this week. You're going to begin your final assignment, which I will go over in just a minute. And of course, read news every day. And now the new layer is start looking at some of those photos, which you probably do anyways. But now that you're going to have a better feel of why photos are used, how they're used, I think it's just going to, again, make you look at the news in a different light. So I'm not personally going to go over photojournalism too much in this video, because I've got a two-part documentary. If you add the two together, it's like 20 minutes, but they do a wonderful job, again, explaining why photojournalism is so valuable to the craft, how it is different from the written word, right? Why it's used in certain circumstances, the power it can have, a little bit of the history. So it's just a really good documentary to kind of be a primer for photojournalism. After you've watched those two videos, I'd like you to take a look at this article. When I say take a look, I literally mean look, because you don't have to do any reading here. It's Times 2019 top 100 photos. So you can just kind of scroll through after watching the video. And of course, there's some very disturbing and powerful images in here, so prep yourself as you go through. But as you go through here, again, think about the lessons that you just learned from the documentary, and you'll see, you can make a lot of those connections as you go through, and just go through and, examine. That's all there is to that. After you've done all that, then you'll do the exercise for this week. So I have the photojournalism exercise for this week. It can also be found, of course, in assignments under exercises. It's worth 25 points, due by the end of the week. I want you to answer these questions. Why is a picture sometimes needed instead of or to complement the written word? And I should preface this as all these questions are answered within that documentary. So what I'm looking for is that, obviously you're going to have a little bit of your opinion. Everybody's going to have a slightly different answer, but the main principle, the main concepts are all in the video. So, I'd like those to try to be applied in your answer, right? This isn't just complete opinion. This is what did you learn from the video tied to your own opinion, anecdotal, background, whatever. You can all add that in, but the answers are found within the video. So why is a picture sometimes needed instead of or to complement the written word, right? So give me the answer that the video kind of gives you, and then you, of course, can add on to that and tweak it and tailor it to what you also believe. What makes photojournalists unique compared to print reporters? Again, that's in the video, but you can also put your own take on it too. What does a photojournalist do in a situation to get that picture right? This one, is like the video, right? I mean, you might have some experience for some of you out there that might have dabbled in photojournalism. So of course you can put your thoughts to it, but there is a direct answer that is given right in the documentary about this. What kind of effect can powerful photojournalism have, right? The video gives some very specific examples throughout history, but of course you add your own too. And think of a recent photo you've seen in the news that left an impact on you. Describe or attach that picture and explain why it left an impression on you. Obviously this one is not from the video, but it could be one of those times pictures, right? It could be something that you saw in here. It could be one that you've just seen in the news recently. If you can't find the picture, you don't remember where you saw it, just describe it. Just take a few lines to describe it. Or if you can backtrack and get it, that's very helpful for me to see it too. But attach that picture and just talk about it. I just want you to tell me, why do you think it was so powerful for you, right? And maybe even at the time you weren't thinking about that, but now in retrospect, it's still stuck in your mind, right? Because that's what you thought of. So explain that to me. Why do you think that it was an impact on you? And that is your assignment for this week. Oh, let me get out of here. That was your assignment for this week. Let's now talk about your final assignment, right? You can't believe that that's already here, but it's time for you to start working on your final. Of course, this can also be found under assignments in writing assignments, or it can be in the weekly content like I just showed you, but let's take a look at it. All right, let's do Sunday, May 3rd, 11:59 p.m. And then that's when you can, of course, you're going to want to come back and probably see what your grade is, but it's the last time you have to worry about doing something for this class, right? So you do have an end date in sight right now. It's worth 150 points. So our writing assignments have all been worth 100 points up to this point. This is worth 150, 50% more, worth 50% more than your other writing assignments. So it's 15% of your grade. So it is, a valuable, it is a good slice of what your overall grade is. That's why you have a few weeks to work on it, but that's also why, I do grade these much stricter, which we'll talk about. All right, you will do either a hard news story or a profile story. Obviously, with COVID now, it kind of changes this dynamic, all right? Might be hard for you to do a hard news story. Not might be hard. Will be extremely difficult if you wanted to do a hard news story. I was debating about just sticking to profile stories, but then I thought, there could be opportunities for a hard news story. I'll give you an example I was just thinking about. My wife is a public school teacher, and the town is doing like a public school teacher parade. So they're all in cars. They're not going to be getting out, but they're all going to be in cars, and kids can go out on the street and be, a certain distance apart, and the cars that go by with the teachers are waving, so the students have a chance to see their teachers and coaches and people that they know, right? So I was just thinking in my head, I was like, you know what? That would be an excellent hard news story. You could show up to that, you could report on it. Getting interviews would be kind of tough, but I figured I'm not going to be the one to eliminate you from making that decision, as long as please stay safe and don't feel like you need to go. Right? You got to be 2 feet away from somebody to talk to them. So you got to be safe. The responsibility is on you to make that judgment call. But I didn't want to eliminate it if it could work. So you do have an option for a hard news story or a profile story. And I feel like that's where most people are going to land. And in fact, even in a regular semester, that's where most people land. And that's totally fine. So you could do either one. If you do a hard news story, though, very similar to the first time you did a hard news story, has to be a live event that you intend to attend in person. So if it is that public school parade, you got to physically be going there and showing up to the parade, right? You can't use reporting from other stories or direct language from other stories. So, I live in Newington. Our Newington paper covers it. I can't go then to see what the Newington paper wrote, copy, paste, take quotes, do any of that. Here is a difference from the first time, though. You have to have at least 2 human sources and 4 direct quotes that you obtain. So the quotes must have been recorded by you and original to your reporting. So the first time you did the writing assignment, you only had to get 1 human source. You only had to do 1 interview. This time you would have to do 2. So maybe one of my interviews is I call a teacher, in advance, or a principal, or I get hooked up with somebody who's participating in the parade and interview them about it. what was their experience, why are they doing that, whatever. Then when I show up to the actual event, maybe I find a student, a parent, somebody who's willing to talk to me, staying 6 feet away, right? But it's finding somebody that I can talk to there too. Or maybe I can find 2 people there to talk to. Maybe it's 2 parents, 2 kids, or a parent and a kid, whatever. The point is you have to have at least 2. And within those 2, there needs to be at least 4 quotes in your story, right? So you gotta have several quotes within your story. Between 650 and 750 words. Have short paragraphs, 1 to 3 sentences, 5 at the most. You know the drill here. This is what you guys have been training for all semester. Be written in the third person. What I'm grading on is what I graded on the last time. Is it informative and well-researched? It's organization, the structure. When I say organization, the structure. Lead, nut graph, lead quote, background information, good closing. Is the lead clear? Is the writing clear and concise? The quality of quotes. So did you just get a quote that said, yeah, the parade is today. I'm so happy. I guess that one could work, but there was probably, if you did a good interview, there was probably a better quote in there, right? So quality of your quotes. Is it newsworthy? Hard news, usually going to be newsworthy, especially now. Like if this event becomes even more relevant because of the unique circumstances that we're living in. So newsworthy, if it's a hard news story, you're usually okay because there's some kind of action going on. Again, what you're avoiding is, and you shouldn't be doing this right now anyways, right? But I had friends come over and we played a poker game. That's a good hard news story. It's a live event. I'm going to cover my poker game in my basement. Nobody cares about that, right? Not even your parents care about that. So just because it's a live event, because something was happening live, does not make it newsworthy. In these circumstances, though, even something as small as a little parade is newsworthy, right? Because it's a feel-good story and because it's unique, it's news. AP style, you guys know that. How well the lessons are being applied from the chapters. And is it free of spelling and grammatical mistakes? So you could do a hard news story. Your other option is a profile story, which you just completed, so it should be pretty fresh in your mind. I'd like you, again, this was done pre-COVID, right? These were my assignments that I've done before, and I decided not to change them, but obviously understand that circumstances are different, so they could get modified. You must write about an interesting person, cannot be a family member or friend. This changes a little bit because it's harder for you to go out and connect with somebody. I understand that, but I still decided to keep it. I'd like you to try to meet this requirement because, you could still go and call people and try to set up something, email somebody and set up something. I'll give you an example. Maybe there's a nonprofit that you know about, Habitat for Humanity. Maybe you even volunteered once a little while ago. And maybe you know about their director there or somebody who works there. You say, you know what? I'd like to interview that person about what they do in their job and why they do what they do, right? Maybe you know somebody who works, your friend or your sister works at a hospital. Maybe they can give you a name of somebody who works at a hospital, who works with the hospital too, with them. And you could talk to them about their experiences right now, right? So my point is use family and friends and maybe get you a connection. It can be an acquaintance, right? So an acquaintance could be like your sister's friend who works at the hospital and you've met a few times, but now you think it'd be good to get an interview with them. So even though you've met that person a few times, it's fine. It's just I want you to try to avoid just doing, well, I'm stuck here with my brother anyway, so let me just interview him, right? No, I want you to go a little outside your comfort zone. Truth is, at this point, you're probably so sick of family and friends, or not friends, but your family anyways. You want to go talk to somebody outside, right, of the house. So go outside your comfort zone. You can do a call, Zoom, Skype, but try to go outside your comfort zone and get an interview with somebody that you don't know well. I don't really want to spend too much time on this because we just did it for your profile story. So I'll just give you the different, what's different in the story. Of course, you can't use any reporting from other stories. Again, here is the difference from your last assignment. Let me get a highlight here. You have to have at least 2 human sources and 4 direct quotes that you obtained. So let's say it is, and this is where I'll maybe let you bend your rule a little bit. Let's say it's your sister's friend who's working at the hospital. You can interview, you need to interview obviously the person working at the hospital and maybe the other quote is maybe the other person is your sister about that person. Or maybe what you do is, you get another friend that they're all connected to. You interview your your sister's friend, and you interview the other person that knows that person, right? It's hard for me to give too many specific examples because it's all always case by case. But what I'm trying to do is you're getting a few people. I've also had students, like for example, students have done somebody about a band member that they've known, right? Someone in a local band. So then you're interviewing the band member and you're interviewing one of their bandmates. That's a good way to do it, right? So try to find somebody else that is relevant to the story, and you're getting two human sources. So you're talking to both those people, one being the subject, and then of course the quotes. Just as one more example of this, thinking about the Washington Post article about the Klans person that you read, that person was being interviewed obviously throughout it, but they also were interviewing his wife throughout it just a little bit, right? She was just kind of filling in some of those details, and then they interviewed the person that he met. But even if you didn't get to that part, if it was just about him and his life before he met with the doctor, right? They are also just interviewing the wife as like a complementary, as like a secondary source to kind of fill in some of those details. So that's the effect that you're going for. Between 650 and 750 words, short paragraphs, be written in the third person. That one is key for this profile story. It's so easy to try to slip into first person, you saying, I interviewed this person, I did this. You are not part of the story. And then here, I'm not going to go over this again because we just did it a few weeks ago. You should have a good idea, and you're getting feedback on this story, on the story that you just wrote. But it's the same. I'm grading on the same things that I did for the last profile story. And then I have my little note here. Note that assignments will be graded stricter than before. I'll be looking if you applied feedback from previous stories. So what I mean by that is, if in your last story for your profile I told you, you didn't really have a defined focus, I give you an example how you could have done that, and I say, and your AP style, you just didn't really edit that well for AP style. Here are a bunch of mistakes when it came to numbers and titles and this and that. Let's say you got a B+ on that assignment, and you do the same exact mistakes. There was no focus, there was no AP style wasn't graded for, right? That B+ is now a C+. And basically I graded a level harder. And I do that because I first make sure that I gave you that feedback, but I do that because the whole point is you're supposed to be growing, right? We all want to grow and get better and not just stall out with our skills. So now that I know that mistakes are made, I want you to make mistakes on those first assignments. Now with those mistakes though, you got to correct it. That's step 2, right? You got to make sure they get corrected so you don't continue to make them. Otherwise you've made no growth. So I look for that. That's what I mean when they're going to be graded stricter than before. I'm not expecting you all to be, Washington Post reporters right now, but I am expecting you to be better than you were at the last assignment. And if you're making the same exact errors from the last assignment, then it's not worthy of that same grade because you should be better than that at this point. That's all I mean by that, all right? It's for you just to be a check on you, be accountable, make sure you go back and apply any feedback that I did give you. Okay, that covers everything for this week. If you want to bounce some ideas off for your final assignment, hey, I'm thinking about doing this assignment, or doing this subject, but I'm not sure. What do you think? Of course, message me. I can just be a sounding board. I can give you some direction. But you should be thinking about doing this. I'm going to end with this really quickly, just again for your own time management here, for you to be thinking about. We're in week 12 right now, right? So next, there will not be another written assignment. You got your op-ed due at the end of this week, so maybe you just want to wrap up your op-ed and start thinking about your story right now, what you want to cover for your final. Then for these next 2 weeks, there will be no new writing assignment. There will be exercises, small exercises that you get done by the end of the week, right, in a quiz, but there's no new writing assignment. So these next 2 weeks, you can really finish up your final assignment because you won't be having to do a lot of writing. It'll just be class assignments and quizzes. So just finishing up your final assignment. So with that said, this week, I think the best approach is to find somebody that you're going to interview, get your interviews all lined up, maybe even conduct the interview if possible. That would be great if you could conduct those interviews, get that all wrapped up for this week. If not, plan on getting that wrapped up by this week, because then in that last week, you can really just spend on writing that assignment. And you guys are free. All right, any questions, let me know and message me. But nice job, keep it up, and I look forward to reading your op-eds real soon.